To Tanzania. I want us to transition. And sometime last week, the president was in Jamhuri Park, and he was unveiling the construction of what will be an AFCON stadium. It's called the Talanta Sport City. And this is what he said about that particular project that should be ready by December 2025.
We want this stadium to be built to world-class standards using military discipline. I will expect our defense team, Aden Duale, the CDF, and your team, to make sure that all the timelines we have agreed are kept by the contractor, and I expect that there will be supervision every week and every 2 weeks, and I will be here myself every 3 months until this facility is completed.
We are here under your instruction just as the project managers, and we will make sure, Your Excellency, as before, with the contractor, that all will be done and the timelines will be maintained as per the AFCON 2027.
All right.
Yeah.
What is it, Senator?
I was laughing because during the last, I think it was it last year or 2 years ago, when the same Duale was screaming and saying how the military is taking over civilian activity, activities in Kenya. Now Duale is the one saying, you see, we are going to look at the, Kenya is... Kenya is such an amazing country, it shocks me. But on a positive note, I really hope the president has actually given very many promises in this country. I hope this is a low-lying fruit. This is something that leaves President Ruto's legacy standing. Can you please finish this stadium the way he's talking about it? Let it not be another story of those things which have basically...
Why are you doubting that it will be done?
Which one? Can I ask you a question? In fact, the only thing I have really marveled, I went to Kibrat, and there are about 3 places where the affordable housing projects are going on. It is such a relief to see something being done that is real, that is tangible with our brother's regime. Sami, let me ask my brother here. Can you give me 3 things that have been done for the last 2 years since they took over power? 3.
Okay, please note that question down because...
No. Some of the question was for him, not you.
He will answer.
Why are you protecting him? Let him give me 3 things.
Senator Nyonka, he will answer, but now we have to talk about the AFCON stadium because the plan is that the 3 countries, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, will be hosting AFCON in 2027. But I'm just wondering, Senator Manzo,
yes.
What is supposed to happen in this country? Because we have different departments, including the public works that is supposed to be overseeing government programs and projects. What happens, and when do you decide when to assign the military or to assign the public works, the work of supervision? But what is going on here?
First of all, we should have a policy in the country. We have different ministries, and unfortunately, most of these decisions must be processed through Parliament. But Parliament has a very big problem. We have seen members of Parliament, they pass a law. When they go to the grassroots, they find the law is not applicable. Therefore, that's going to happen through so many other things. You remember, as soon as this government came to power, meat processing and the slaughtering was being done by the defense. It was taken away back to Department of Livestock. And a few days later, it was taken away back to defense. You remember the Nairobi city was being refurbished by the defense. There's nothing wrong with the defense helping with development. But the question is, what has happened to the people and the structures, the contractors, who should be working on these activities and making sure that they employ and things like that. Now, the military has a budget, its own budget. Now, when the Minister of Sports have a budget for the stadium, why is it the Minister of Sports, through a contractor, not dealing with the stadium? But the last 10 years or so, even 15 years, all the stadiums which were supposed to be completed, from Eldoret to Makueni to Mombasa, there are none. You know, contractors have been on site, they have not been funded. So I'm wondering what will happen then. Are we going to take a budget for youth and sports and send it to
the status of the stadium in water?
It's not complete yet, and it's not yet ready for use. The problem is that the contractors have not been paid for, they have worked, therefore they are unable to proceed and work more. And there has been a lot of allegations of when contractors are paid, government officers want the same money. They want the cuts. And therefore they have become so frustrating. We need a firm government. People want the people in management of sports. So that they frustrate the contractors. And I believe now, the military has its own place to defend the borders of this country. If you now deploy the military to be the ones, participating in something like this, I know from practice, the only time the military comes in, like when Parliament was being renovated, is just to make sure the security, is checked. And I believe it's the same thing with the stadium, just to ensure that certain quarters which are likely to be used by the presidents are secured enough. But they cannot be the ones doing the whole project, from the small stones to the grass to the walls. I think there's something not right there, and it cannot be something announced publicly without input of Parliament. And Parliament in this country need to get serious. Okay,
so you raise very critical points there about the involvement of Parliament. But do we know if there's actually a plan to construct that stadium in the current financial year budget?
It should have been budgeted. It should have come through the budget, so that the budget provisions show a stadium and how much money is going to be used.
Have you seen any?
That I haven't seen, although that's mainly the work of the National Assembly. The Committee of Supply, through the Department of Sports, should be having that particular budget. If it isn't in the budget, then there is a problem.
Dr. Matunga, have you seen any provision on construction of this stadium, and how much should it cost actually?
The issue of stadium came up last year, I think, before the last budget. So it must have been budgeted for by I'm sure, the sports ministry. I don't think the president can launch any project which does not have budgetary provision. That's one of the decrees that must be met. It must have a budgetary provision before it can launch. Coming back to this issue of military, Sam, maybe the reason why the president prefers military to be involved, it is because of the procurement procedure for this country. The Procurement Act is long and tedious. And the military has got shortcuts when it comes to procurement because of the nature of the nature of activities they get involved in. So they basically will...
Please, Senator Nyoka, allow him to finish.
Senator Nyoka will only make noise here. Let me finish. I want to give you a very, very classical example.
Yeah.
We used to struggle with the Kenya Meat Commission in the State Department for Livestock within the agriculture sector. For many, many years, we funded that. We used to give them 500 million, 300 million every year, 600 million, and it never worked. Then it was transferred by the former president to military. Within 3 years, it has become profitable. So there must be things that the military does which are strict and which linked to adherence of the laying down procedures. As he has said, probably we have seen many projects not completing because of the many structural and process rigidities that are brought in and maybe perpetuation of corruption. That is one of the...
I appreciate the efficiency you reference, but how do you oversight that?
The Ministry of Defense is oversighted by the Committee on Security.
So, if you're putting up a stadium...
Mutunga, you are not serious.
Sorry.
It's a Committee on Security, my friend.
The Security Committee, which I sat for in Parliament for 15 years, does nothing to oversight the military. That is a protected zone.
Well, I thought they would go to the Defense Committee, but anyway.
The Defense Committee, Sam... Yep. When have you ever heard the Defense Committee saying we went and checked out how many guns we bought, how many APCs came? Nothing. Nothing. And yet every year we give the military $2 billion to go and buy what? I can't remember what we were buying. So this is what I've been saying. My problem with my reasoning as a normal Kenyan who's walking in the streets, please give us a policy on what you want. You see the same mistakes that Uhuru has been accused of and he has been blamed for. Even when he meant well. You know, these are the issues. You can actually mean well to achieve something. Uhuru meant well for him to convert Kenya Meat Commission into to be handled by the military. Put down a policy which is going to come up. Do you introduce PPPs? Do you bring certain things which the military can do? The issue is there is no objection with what the military is supposed to do with this stadium. The only objection I have is very simple. Look at what has happened with General Mbadi at Nairobi County Government. Mbadi left with 36 billion shillings in debt which has not been paid. And you know what? You know how you talk to Mbadi? You go to status to check. You can't go to the military to go and summon Mbadi. Why? The law doesn't allow you. You are a civilian. These are military people.
So, Dr. Mutunga, because you say you speak to the efficiency of the military, and again I ask you that question. The military are in charge of defense of this country.
Correct.
They are supervising a stadium.
Yes.
Stadiums are under the sports ministry. Mm-hmm. Sports ministry reports to the Departmental Committee on Sports.
I want to agree.
So how do you oversight that, whatever it is?
My imagination is that I cannot confirm that the money has been put under the Ministry of Defense.
Yeah.
The money must have been put under the Ministry of Sports. Uh-huh. Now, my imagination is that they will use the military procedures to construct this stadium because it is supposed to be delivered in 2 years, in a record 2 years. And it's supposed to have the top-notch facilities and, also done very well as a heritage issue, also for purposes of selling Kenya to the others who are going to be to the AFCON and even after. So that's what I would like to say. I have not checked whether the money is in, but the money must be provided for. That's one thing I'm very sure of. I'm certain there is money. I do not know whether it is in defense, but since this was introduced during this particular launch, I would imagine the money is still with the Ministry of Sport, and therefore it can be oversighted by the relevant committee.
Then I think
I'm looking at just hold on. I'm looking at the budget statement for the financial year 2023-2024. To support tourism, paragraph 157. To support tourism, sports, culture, and recreation, I propose to the National Assembly to effect budget allocations of 12.5 billion. This includes an allocation of 6.4 billion shillings under the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund, 4.1 billion for the Tourism Fund, and 2 billion shillings for Tourism Promotion Fund. I'm yet to learn that the total allocation for the Sports Department, but it's not forthcoming. I'm just wondering, so that stadium cannot cost 6 billion. It will cost more than that. We understand that the China Road and Bridge Corporation is the one that is going to construct that. Is there a chance that we are putting up a project without budget?
I said earlier that the president cannot launch, what I know, a project without budget. And this project has flexibility to be funded over 2 years. This is the first year, and then there will be another year. We'll have to run through 2 financial years. And then you ask me, why use the military? And the military has got other duties. How many times has our military gone to war? Maybe none. Maybe peacekeeping here and there. So these fellows go they are recruited. They stay waiting for an opportunity to practice what they are trained on until they retire.
No.
So let us use them otherwise.
No. I think I beg to disagree.
Yes, Senator.
You know the military has to prepare throughout, and one of the biggest challenges of the world is terrorism, and Kenya is very akin to that. So the military has to practice, has to train, has to prepare, throughout. And although there are people who are trained in different departments, like in construction, even during war, you may have to do construction, and that can only be done by the military people. Attack on a nation can happen anyone's time. So there's a lot of work which goes on, and probably which befits their own budget. So if you have to use the military for other purposes, there must be a very good justification. If then that's the trade, if the only time you need efficiency and you need to save money and to work well is the military. Then I think President Ruto, you say, allow the country to be run by the military. You rather than give the country to the military. It seems the civilian government is completely unable to deliver anything. So I think the space of the military should be allowed to be. There's the Air Force, there's the Navy, and they are the ground troops. And they are very specific. You know, the ocean has to be checked and to be under surveillance throughout. There's something with the, the Air Force has to train. So when will this person be flying a plane or training, in case of an attack, and then at the same time they are constructing a stadium? How does it work?
Sam, I don't think we are saying that the entire military will now be tied up in this particular activity. We are just saying probably the top management team that will look into the speed at which this is done, the quality of the work that is going to be done, will remove military personnel.
So is there a chance that this is a public-private partnership in a sense that the funding may actually not come from the government of Kenya, coming from outside?
Well, you said China
Road
will be constructing this particular facility. I know how the approach the China roads uses is a public-private partnership. And I do not know whether, I'm not aware of private information.
So whatever the case is, should Parliament know when such is happening?
These are project management decisions. They are not policy really decisions. It's how you want to approach the project. The policy has been set, the money has been released to this particular activity. Then how you manage the activity really does, I don't think the Parliament needs to make a decision on that.
But the budget?
No, the budget has already been released to the ministry.
What budget? How much?
You read some figures.
Yes.
What we don't know is exactly
billion.
how much has been put to this stadium. That's what is not very clear.
And that is
unless now we look deeper into
if you cannot spend a cent outside budget, and that is why, even if Article 223 allows government to spend up to 10% of the budgetary allocations above that, you spend, but then you have to bring it to Parliament for regularization through supplementary budget. How can you venture into a stadium without the knowledge of Parliament? In fact, none of you here knows how much it's costing and the financing.
I want to say for the last time, Sam, that the president cannot launch. I know, because when he visited Meru, we had to sit down and look at which projects are funded. Those are the only projects he could talk about. He cannot talk about a project that is not funded. And that is the practice. You cannot mislead the president to say, I will do this when there is no money. So it must be funded, really.
By who? Taxpayer or from outside?
I believe the taxpayers are as a major player, a major role in this.
You believe? Yes, Senator.
Sammy, I don't want to belabor this point. For me, what I wanted to tell my brother is this. This is going to be one of President Ruto's flagship projects. Please make sure you guys, you finish it.
Finish. It is also not right
Even Dwaka Dam has never been
to say that.
No.
Okay, it's not President Ruto's.
Dr. Mutunga, and I respect
it's okay.
you.
I will answer. I'll still answer you before we leave.
Yes.
And I can answer now if you want.
No, I want you to answer me off the air. What I wanted to say, Sammy, is this. It has been close to 2 years since this government came into power. The way you know the functionality and the effectiveness of the government is when you see certain things, quote unquote, which are verifiable, which can be seen, which are obviously, I am just saying, I can run through 4 or 5 things. They are not big time, small things. Go to Dogokundu, that was Uhuru. Come to the military sports complex, that's Uhuru. Talk about this thing that is running on Nairobi City of the Express Highway, that's Uhuru. Now, Uhuru left. So I'm asking my brother, please, show us 1 or 2.
But, let me tell you.
Yep.
During that time, we are still borrowing and we are still spending money.
And the military was not involved in doing the expressway. The military was not involved in doing the expressway. The president used to go and supervise it
himself.
But did it take 2 years?
So
it took more than
you
2
raise
years.
an important point. Yes. The Expressway is a public-private partnership program.
Yes. Yes.
And it kept mutating in terms of the costing.
Mm.
Was Parliament aware?
No.
No. Parliament always budgeted for it. It was in the Ministry of Roads.
How much was it?
And the PS Roads will always make presentations of
That
the
figure
committee.
kept on changing.
Kept on changing.
I was in the budget
variation,
appropriation
yes.
committee.
I was with you. The variations which were done on this thing.
I mean,
And therefore,
How did this thing become 76 billion from 22?
And therefore, knowing that the stadium that was the groundbreaking happened last week, we don't know how much it's going to cost. What will control the cost?
Well, the cost will be affected by many factors.
What did you ask? What will control the cost?
Yes, because
Of course, we stop stealing.
you know already there's a story about the expressway and the
Yes.
questions that you're raising.
Yes.
If parliamentarians who are sitting here with me here do not know the cost of this program or this project, what will contain the cost to ensure that it is within what parliamentarians would want to see? Because National Assembly is the one that makes determination on those, because those are public interest issues.
It is.
you know, there are specific committee issues.
Yeah.
And that if you got somebody from sports, they'll give you the facts. We wouldn't like to lie before Kenyans that we actually know these figures. But what I'm telling you for a fact is that it must be provided for. Mm-hmm. And the provision for initial resources must be there in the budget this year, and then there is a formula to provide the remaining part of the resources. And the issue of projects, you see, we are talking about Uhuru's projects in 10 years. We are talking about Ruto's projects in 17 months, in 1 year and around 1.5 years, or let's say 20 months, let me say. Now, there are certain things that President Ruto said, and he has done. Mm-hmm. The Hustler Fund is already done and running. I know you wouldn't like to talk about such things because it is working.
No,
then the other one,
I said project. Hustler Fund is not a project, it's a fund.
It's okay.
Using my money. It is not money that
So which money do you want him to use?
What I am asking you is this. We have borrowed for the last 17 months. You see where you go to page 10. The debt is now reaching 13 trillion. We borrowed the money. We have actually, by June, I correct myself, by June it will have reached 13 trillion. We've collected for the last 2 years, for the last 1 year, 7 months, 2 trillion shillings in debt. Where is it?
There are many things happening in this country. Many. We have money is being used all over.
If you are buying cows in Central and putting them in holding grounds, you tell me we have 2 million cows. If the SGR was being extended to Naivasha, to Kakamega, I would be seeing it's being done. If there is a stadium which is being done, by now I would be telling you, by the way, yes, I remembered one, Oma Bay, Gladys Wanga's nearly finished that stadium. From government funds. I really love it.
The Ebu Stadium was finished and launched, and I am surprised that you are saying even that.
No, Ebu Stadium was supposed to have been finished 6 years ago.
So then, the problem we have.
Let us not talk about what was.
What I didn't want to say.
I'm talking about since the president, our beloved president, took over power in the last 17 months. Show me what, other than the beautiful houses I've seen, those ones they're doing in Kibra. There's another batch they're doing somewhere. You really.
Are you aware that we are running digital hubs, which are where young people?
Let me ask you, what is a digital hub?
Digital hub is a room fitted with computers.
There is.
And then connected to the internet.
Being run by private companies.
No, run by the institutions. Right now we have them.
Being run by private companies.
Show me
what project you guys have done in the last 17 months.
And with the TTIs, the network disappeared after 2 days.
On the interpretation of what you consider to be a project run by the government.
Okay, sorry.
Leave Uduma number somewhere.
Senator, you're saying something.
Yes, you see what happened with the Uduma centers, most of them which were set up. Within those centers under the Ministry of IT, 2 days or 3 days after they collapsed, they are no longer working. The network is not accessible, and most of them are failed completely. You need to visit.
Are working. The ones I know of are working. Yeah.
Give me addresses of 2. Show me 2 where I go and visit.
Go and visit Karumo.
Where is it?
Karumo TTI is in my constituency.
Tell somebody to send me a pin on my phone. I'll go.
What do they have, Mheshimiwa?
What
do they have?
They have 100 computers. They have set a room with 100 computers, and the youth are now connected to jobs across. They do.
What jobs are they doing?
The virtually transmitted jobs. There are those.
So what do they do when they wake up?
There is a government-to-government agreement on who can we engage to finish up certain assignments from the other end, and these are passed on to a country like us, now managed by the ministry of ICT and Digital Spyway. I don't know. What
assignments are you talking about?
The internet jobs that people do. I'm surprised you don't know.
Which they do what?
I don't know what they do at Kagumo ICT Hub.
Yeah. Oh, ICT, Kagumo Karumo is a...
Karumo.
Yeah, it is a TTI, a Technical Training Institute.
Yeah.
But we have set aside one room and installed 100 computers, and the youth. It
is part of the 1,450 digital or ICT hubs that
we are establishing across. And now, using that example, we are rolling out in the other ones, and it's working. And
that's what I'm asking, because you're saying that there are online jobs. I'm just asking, what exactly are they doing with those assignments? What is the assignment?
According to because we interviewed one of the ladies the day the president came to this particular facility to open it up, she receives assignments from some countries, and then does these assignments and sends over. Of course, they are negotiated in terms of how much you're going to charge per assignment. Then their money is paid to their account or through their card, the Visa card or whatever.
Sami.
And that is supervised by the ministry?
Sami.
The ministry does the linkage.
Sami, what Daktari is saying, you've seen this on social media and other platforms. There are cases where Kenyan students are able to get assignments allocated to them from universities in America, Brazil, wherever. That can't be a project.
No, I'm not talking about project.
What I'm telling my brother,
working.
What I'm telling my brother,
the government
what I am saying is very simple. I come from Kisii. I am the senator of Kisii. The road which leaves Migori, goes through Kisii and comes to Nairobi or goes to Kisumu, was done when the president now was a deputy with Uhuru. That was that time. Since then, I haven't seen any project in Kisii County that has been done by the UDA since the president.
And it's finished. I think the idea is done and complete.
No,
but many projects
started. Let me not talk about it. No, now we have left finishing. Now we are not finishing. Started, that is running. Let's not talk about finishing. I don't want it to be finished. Show me one project in Kisii County, where I come from, that the national government has actually done, and they are at the ring beam.
The president has
supposed to be unveiling of a housing
I may not be able to remember.
Wasn't it unveiled?
The unveiling of the housing program. Some now you're bringing another issue here. I'm the senator of Kisii County. Where are you going to put these houses?
There's even no land.
The land is owned by the county government. The land they want to put houses is where the Suneka airstrip is. Where are you going to put these houses? And anyway, let's leave this thing of talking about the court. Who told people that people in Kisii want houses which are going to be built and they have them in Kisii? We already have houses, Bwana.
Some, they are built on all their land.
Who told him we want you to build for us?
The question is, how can we get the Kisii land to produce agricultural products other than
did you hear any one day?
That is the direction.
Have you ever heard that Kisii people are hungry? With our quarter acres, we are able to grow enough food. We are able to bring it to Nairobi and sell with buses, and we go back with them. The issues we are raising are very simple. Please let the government. And we have no objection to what the government wants to do. Let the government tell us, senators, so this is what we'll do, this is how we'll do it, this is who'll pay for it, this is how you'll buy it.
Now, I need to take a look at the feedback that has come to us, what Kenyans are saying, and as we do that, I still don't have answers as to the cost of the Talanta Sports City Stadium. The President has said that it will be supervised by the CS Defense and the KDF, but also the China Road and Bridge Corporation will be constructing it. I have looked at the budget. What is the name of that document? That is outlining the plan of the government for the financial year 2024-2025. It talks about the plan of coming up with Atlanta Sports City. It doesn't speak about what the cost will be. The feedback on X at Citizen TV Kenya, at Sam Gituku, the hashtag to use is daybreak. This is Karaoke Moiri. What KRA should do is train chiefs on taxation to give the body due intelligence on farmers who fall within tax brackets. Sending KRA staff to villages will endanger their lives. There is a lot of disorganization in the way Ruto is doing it. You don't say your name, but you have a T at the end of your number. This government does not listen to its people. Everything done in public participation is never considered. They come to fossilize. Fossilize is not English. To force the president's opinion on people. Even in Bungoma, farmers opposed leasing of Nzoia, and it was leased. You mean Nzoia Shuko something?
Yes. So
Ivan Swanyela, the government should not be taxing agricultural produce. I can imagine the taxman walking into my farm. Would they be accompanied by security officers? We'll answer you. Leonard, tax system of this country needs to be reviewed. Sadly, there are no tax principles attached to the current tax system. Prices of basic commodities have gone up due to this mess. It would have been worse if not the court, which nullified recruitment of tribal carrier officers. Sanixon Dogire, it's like we are no longer paying taxes. They are taking taxes. Otherwise, collecting more tax than is absolutely necessary is legalized robbery. Sawe, it appears that Kenya Kwanza MPs have relinquished Parliament's primary responsibility of crafting laws, passing proposals without proper scrutiny, only to lament once they are implemented. The 13th Parliament is a letdown for hustlers, more so Kenyan farmers. Babu Michael, the jitters and the uproars about the new tax measures clearly show how the process to their making was shoddy. If the legislators are the ones who didn't understand it but passed it, what about the common mwananchi? It means we are on our own. Bobo Tieno, Honorable Nyonka is getting it all wrong, matters on taxation, because this type of politics is always negative. No wonder even Dan Manzo can't explain this matter well, like Honorable Kinuthia. Should be Kanyuthia, is putting it down perfectly. And Godi Baraza, you're saying that we seem to have a huge confusion in President Ruto's administration because the majority of officers he hired to help him run his agenda are not properly informed. This is why we are seeing the back and forth on endless tax proposals. So, okay, there's one more. No way you can give farmers cheap fertilizer, then highly impose punitive taxes on their products. Government should wake up and face the reality. You can't grow an economy by raising taxes. This is another way of killing young entrepreneurs. So that's the feedback this morning. I want us to close. Senator Manzo.
Yes.
So where do we go from here? Because clearly there are certain gaps that this panel has highlighted on some of these concerns, especially taxation, but also on how government engages in public development programs, which are good. I mean, they will mean good for the talents in Kenya. Where should we go from here?
Well, at least the Deputy President has admitted that there is something wrong with the Finance Act, which, raised a lot of issues with Kenyans. It went for public participation, which were the ideas from the people. And many Kenyans are more brilliant than the elected leaders. You have specialists, in taxes and in many other fields. And their own ideas were never put into consideration. And what happened is the Parliament became a hostage of the executive and the laws passed. Now we've got to review this Finance Act again so that the views of the public can be considered and that it is tenable. I want to agree with the contribution that, the moment you overtax, and especially the middle class, then you make the hustlers' life more difficult, because you see these are the people who work with the middle class. The middle class give jobs to the people in their farms, in the border industry, and many other places. So the moment the middle class is overtaxed, then you definitely kill smaller businesses, and it's a high time the government admitted that it was wrong, and it's a high time Parliament was allowed to do its job. Let members of Parliament work without being directed by the executive, so that they can be able to give, and we all mean well for the nation, we can be able to give practical means of collecting taxes and making sure that these taxes work, you know, for the people of Kenya. And we have raised a lot of money. I believe we should be able to do good work for the country.
Senator, in closing.
Yeah, for me, Sam, the reality is very simple. I don't think you can tax Kenyans beyond where we are now. So I'd rather start looking at what is it that is creating the hemorrhaging of our resources. I think the president must now begin to look at loopholes. He has really extended the tax base. He has really increased the revenue that is being generated, not as much as people had expected. But I really, really hope that there's going to be control as to how these resources that we've raised, that is doing what? That is being generated from the Kenyan taxpayers. I see what the president doing with the industrial parks. I hope those are not just white elephants that are going to have nothing to do with it. The other thing I would really wish, and I would want to make a very special request to the head of state, the county governments on all this strategy that the president wants to implement, the county governments must be involved.
Okay.
All the functions that have been involved, whether it is agriculture, Sami, whether it is sports, whether it is water, whether we are now having a challenge. You see, when you hear so many people complain about the government is clawing back onto devolution, the reality is very simple. The reason why people are skeptical, why we are always skeptical about what the government is doing, is that some of us are beginning to feel that the government is targeting those areas where money comes, especially from the donor agencies.
Okay.
All right.
Yet yourself and Senator Manzo have a responsibility to protect devolution at the
counties.
We hope you can do your part.
It's a tall order. It's a very tall order. Why? Because we don't have the numbers in the House. You see,
but you can do it in a small way. Convince your colleagues.
You even saw what were we complaining about yesterday? The speaker doesn't even want us to debate. Sami, we come here because you allow us to debate at least. I'm able to tell Mutunga anything. In the House, they tell you order, they chase me away.
Unfortunately, Senator, we can't pass a motion here.
No, I know, but you can see the challenges we are having. That instead of the government should always have their way. Okay. We should have our say. They now don't even want us to have our say in the Senate.
So you say it here. Dr. Mutunga, in closing.
Yes, Sam, if we debate the way we do it here in Parliament, of course, we'll be hard from wasting time. So, let me say this. Let me say this. There is nothing wrong with taxing the difference between the cost and taxing the profit. There is absolutely nothing wrong. Maybe the formula is not yet properly done. I think the formula needs to be reworked. And every development occurring in any part of this country is a Kenyan development. There is no development which is national government, and there is no development which is county. So county government should also be supportive of the initiatives and the efforts of the national government. I want to cite cases of where a county government decides not to release a title, like he said, for the fund of housing to be done. That is not quite correct, because you will delay that particular process in that. You will deny the people of that region their fund of housing when the others are getting their fund of housing. So we need the county government to basically support the initiatives and efforts of the national government, because the government is one with the devolved units. Okay. So I think that's the way we need to look.
Okay, all right. Of course, he raised a few questions about how that is being processed at the Senate. What I was reading is the Budget Policy Statement 2024. That's where you find the mention of Talanta Stadium. So AFCON 2027 is among national priorities, particularly with regards to construction of a new Talanta Stadium and upgrading of the existing Kasarani, Nyayo and Kipchoge Keino Stadium and the attendant training grounds. Of course, it's just the Budget Policy Statement, not much of details. We don't know what
details will come in the budget itself.
Okay.
The other thing, Sam, you forgot.
We'll have to say that. The only challenge here is that already the project has been started. The groundbreaking has started. Yeah. So you groundbreak before budget.
There must be some provision. Maybe
there must be some provision.
The other point
our assignment is to
I forgot to mention is that, Kasarani was never finished. They have never finished it.
See, they said
they think they will finish.
Progress is on.
The stadium. Hey, Sam. Promise.
So it was never finished by who?
It's never been finished by the government. Kasarani was 4 phases.
It was built by President Moi.
Yes.
The late.
Yes. And it came and they finished the main stadium. Then they said they're going to do the basketball pitches. They finished. Then they were supposed to start the phase 3. And then there's supposed to be phase 4.
But
Till now.
Oh, well, this one, the plan is different.
I'm really hoping that when they finish Talanta, the president can also finish Kasarani.
By the
This is finishing
military
for
and
AFCON.
defense.
And
Yeah,
AFCON
but even
means,
Kasarani
AFCON
could be
means
used for
many
AFCON.
stadiums. AFCON means
Means
many stadiums.
As they
All
have
right.
mentioned about
Asanteni sana.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Kanyude Mutunga,
Thank
Senator Dan Manzo, and Senator Richard Onyoko. Sasa unaenda wapi?
Oh, my apologies.
This has been the conversation on Daybreak. Up next
apologies.
is Matter Social. Safina Cheng will be here with more. Bye for now. My name is Sam Gitutu.